Yo, what's up, Zero Faction?
ZeroFactorZX.
Here with an educational video for my controller players. First things first, I want to thank y'all so much for 24K. I wouldn't be able to produce these videos without y'all, so thank you everybody that supports and likes my content. I appreciate y'all for that, but let's get right into the video. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to get less input delay on controller. The way we're going to be doing this is by installing extremerate's PS4 clicky face button kit. Now what this $20 kit essentially does is replace the factory buttons that come on the PS4 controller with more responsive buttons that are comparable to the click of a mouse. This type of hardware is already installed on your professional $200 plus controllers like your Scuff or your Astro C40, and this is why all the top controller players are able to move the way that they do. So with that being said, I'm going to show the complete installation of the kit from start to finish, and I'm going to show some comparison gameplay with double claw hand cam. If you guys want more educational videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe. New crazy meme edits on the way every single day, and y'all stay tuned. Zero Factor out. Peace. Alright gang, quick disclaimer, this kit doesn't work on every single DualShock 4 controller. You'll need a DualShock 4 V2, which is the PS4 controller with the light bar on the touchpad. Below in the description I'll place a link for the controller that I use in this video and the kit, so everything you'll need will be down below. So first things first, you're going to take your controller and you're going to remove these 4 screws on the back. Everything you need to take it apart will be included in the kit. I also decided to install these independent D-pad buttons. This is optional for you. I only decided to do it because I play double claw, but I'll explain more about that later. So let's get these 4 screws out. They don't put up much of a fight. It ain't much to explain here, but yeah. Next, the controller shell has to be pried open. This could be tricky, but the easiest way I found to do it is to reach in between your triggers right where I got it in this video and just pop it open. It should come open like so. Now don't be scared of it. You got to put a little thing on that thing, but if you put enough, you feel me, if you put enough thing on it, it's gonna come open. Now after we get it all pried loose, we're going to lift the back shell off here. Now the first thing you're going to notice is this ribbon cable is going to be keeping you from separating your controller. This right here is where you want to grab and just kind of work it loose. Ideally, if you have some tweezers, you can pull this little blue tab and it'll come out pretty easy. But for the sake of congruency, I only use what they supplied with the kit. So I use my man hands. Next, we're going to get this battery cable off. It's pretty much the same deal. You just kind of grip it and finesse him loose. Try to be gentle as possible with everything too, because these are small components and you don't want to damage nothing. Next, we're gonna get this tray off. It's just held on by 1 screw. Ain't gonna get them out the way. Next, we're gonna remove the touchpad ribbon cable. It's the same type deal as earlier. You just grab him and pull him loose. It doesn't put up much of a fight. All right, next step, we're gonna remove the breadboard. There are 2 plastic retaining clips that are holding this breadboard in place. You wanna grab these clips at the same time and pull the breadboard straight up. If you don't, these columns here will get in the way and they'll stop the breadboard from coming out. Pretty smooth. Now this next step, we're gonna remove all these mechanical components from the top of the shell. Now what I'm gonna do right here is straighten out this ribbon cable. You want it to be as straight as possible because it has to snake through this slot right here, and you don't want it catching on anything, so it'll just go straight through like so. Next, we're gonna modify our face buttons. You go ahead and pull these rubber parts off. We won't be needing them anymore. These are our rubber contactors. They're gonna be going underneath our buttons. Now you'll have 2 types of these contactors. There's gonna be a round one and there's gonna be a rectangular one. The round one is going to be for your X triangle square buttons, and the rectangular one is going to be for your D-pad. All you're going to do is take the rubber contactor and push it in the back of the button. For lack of a better way to explain this, you're basically going to insert the male end into the female end of the button, and it's going to look like that when you're finished. Do the same for the rest of the shape buttons, and then we'll do the same for the D-pad buttons as well. Okay, now on the left we have our factory D-pad, and on the right we have our individual dedicated D-pad button. The downside of the factory D-pad is they're all stuck together. So if you have heavy hands, sometimes you could press up on a D-pad and end up triggering the right button or the left button or vice versa, you know. So the main benefit of having the dedicated D-pad buttons is you can press one of them and it won't affect the other. Now we're going to place our buttons back inside the shell. Pay attention to how you're seating the buttons because they have to go in a certain way in order to be seated properly. Notice how these notches are cut out in order for the buttons to be aligned properly. The D-pad buttons just fall back into place. They don't have to be aligned. So moving along, let's get to the rest of our components. Our next order of business is getting these triggers off. It's pretty easy. All you got to do is pull the triggers out, but it does take a little strength, so you're gonna have to put some thing on that thing if you want to get them off. That's all I'm saying. We're gonna start with the L1 and R1 triggers and just kind of finesse them out with our fingers. Now the L2 and R2 triggers are held on here and here. First you're gonna lift this back tab up and then they just pop out just like the other 2 triggers. Remember, you got to put some thing on that thing to pop them out. Don't forget. That's a little too much thing. I dropped it. Next, you want to slide these rubber contacts out. The left one isn't on there because it flew off when I popped the trigger off just a second ago. But yeah, they just slide out, ain't nothing. Next, we'll flip the controller over and lift this connector off these two pegs. Pretty smooth. Next, we're gonna flip the controller again and remove the electronic field from the pegs that are securing it to the controller. It doesn't take much strength. These just pop off. It's pretty darn simple, but it will get tricky once you get to the triggers, but you just kind of like snake it through there. Easy. Just make sure you're gentle so you don't tear the film, but it's not that difficult, bro. You got it, trust. All right, now we can get to the good part. This is our replacement electronic film. This is where the magic happens. I'm gonna let y'all hear the click. This is what's gonna convert our button presses into a mouse click. So now, reverse installation. We're gonna take our replacement electronic film and line it up and put everything back in place right where the previous electronic film was sitting. Now this brown strip, you just take it and fit it down in this designated slot that the last one came out of. It could be a little difficult getting it back on, but I'm gonna show you guys how to do it here in a second. Now, as you remember, these are the pegs that we just removed the previous strip off of. I got one end down, no problem, but that created a lot of tension on it, so the other end didn't want to quite go. So I took some tweezers and I kind of pulled it and stretched it over the second peg. And that's what worked for me. Do what you gotta do, but be careful and make sure you don't tear it. Now everything is back into place, so now we have to secure it. So all we're gonna do is press down on it so that it conforms around the pegs that are intended to secure the electronic film in place. Pretty simple. Everything should just snap back into place, and when you're done, it should be conformed to your controller, like so. Now right here, we gotta make a few simple modifications. These two little horns, I guess you could say, sticking out on top of this trigger, we're gonna have to cut both of these off on both of the triggers. When you're through, it should be flush like that, flat at the top. It's pretty simple. Don't overthink it. Now this right here, this is a thingamajig. This is gonna go on your L1 and your R1. It doesn't snap or lock in or fit perfectly, but you drop it down in there and it's gonna connect together male to female, just like the other pieces. It'll only go one way and it'll look like this when it's all said and done. Now we move on to our L2 and our R2 triggers. It has a similar piece, but it's shaped different. The male piece has these teeth on it, and the trigger, the female piece, has grooves for the teeth to go down into. And you marry them together and you force it down in there as far as you can, and you should come out with something like that. Now keep in mind that it's not going to fit snug, it's just going to be seated down in there, so be careful or else it'll fall out. Now we're going to snap our triggers back into place. You literally just line them up and they push back in. You do got to put some thing on it though, so keep that in mind. That's L1 and R1. L2 and R2 are a little bit different. As you can remember, there was this tail piece back here, and we have to line that up before we snap it into place. So we do just that. We hang it over the hook, we push on it, give it a nice little put some on it, and it's gonna snap right back into place. All right, check me out. Sound good. Now we go back with everything. Let's get the top shell lined up. We gonna get him lined up over here right quick and do his brother the same way. Next, we will align the breadboard. Now y'all see this piece right here? If you don't align it correctly, the bread won't go back into place. You just kind of want to work it until it lines up perfectly, like so. Flip it on over on the other side and double check and make sure your joysticks are protruding the way that they need to. Plug the touchpad back up. It just slides off in there, nice and easy. Put a battery tray back in. It's held on by one screw. Throw the battery back in. Plug it up. Make sure you got the plug going the right way. If you're not sure if you got it plugged in the right way, remember that your black cable will be facing towards the triggers. I didn't really get a good angle on this, but right here we're gonna plug this last ribbon cable in and snap the back shell back on. Everything should line up and snap back into place. Throw the 4 screws back in, you're good to go. All right, let's test it out in game. Alright, so first off, let's talk about the digital triggers, arguably the most important part about this whole entire kit. These next few videos, I'm going to show you guys the little amount of pressure that's actually required to actuate these triggers. Our black controller is going to represent our factory unmodded controller, and our white controller is the controller that we installed the clicky kit on. As you can see in these comparison clips, now it only takes about half the pressure that it would normally take to actuate these triggers. This allows you to shoot faster, which is going to improve your aim, which is going to allow you to get more walls, which is going to allow you to be more consistent, hit more shots, pre-fire easier, etc, etc. I'm about to show you guys in these next few gameplay clips. Alright, first clip, I was going toe to toe with this dude. I ain't gonna lie. He got me, man. He got a good little shot off on me. He got me weak. But watch how I get him back. I call him double swinging on my wall. That's a no-no. Bow! Bow! Hit him with that pre. Now that boy looking like this. Now, as a high pin controller player, pre-firing was something that's always been really difficult for me. But after I installed these triggers, it made it way easier because of how responsive the triggers are. Alright, now what is my final verdict? If you want to get better on a standard DualShock 4 controller, these are absolutely necessary. You absolutely need these. If you're high ping, they do take some getting used to, but after you adjust to them, everything is much better. Everything's much more responsive. You can do things way faster. So yeah, these last few clips are going to be some hand cam gameplay. Nothing too crazy, just some stuff I recorded for y'all because I promised a hand cam. That's about all I got for y'all. Like and subscribe if you want more videos like this. Stay tuned. Thank y'all for 24K once again, and I'm hungry. I'm about to go eat.
ZeroFactorZX.
Out.